Welcome back to another Action Game Maker tutorial. Today I'm going to talk about bind object and child settings. So with that said, let's get started. Alright, so here we are in the Basilot Quest sample. I'm going to jump straight to the player here, and you can see that I have a bind object node on this. So this does not come on the player by default, so I had to go to add node, and then type in bind up here, and it just auto-populated, and I was able to add it. So when you add a bind settings, you just have a very simple database structure list here, and you can click on it and you can see that I have my bind data right here. I can add new bind data as well, or I can get rid of bind data. So what exactly is this representing? If we go back to PGM, you might be familiar with this tab right here where you could add connect object, and then it would show up in the tab called object connections right here. And this is where you would add your list. This is the same thing that you're doing in this bind object area. Matter of fact, if you click on here, you have the same settings that you will see right here. So if we go back here, you can see we can make it a child. We'll get more on this in a minute. But you have your positioning, if a switch is there, and then what object it is, and the name of it right there. So you can see that we have those same settings right here, the name, which object it is. You got a switch if you need it to activate via switch, meaning that the switch has to be on in order for it to activate. You can use a connection point with some offsets, and you can also do these same things, spawn as child, sync direction, and lower priority. All right, so this is essentially the same as this so far. It's basically saying, hey, this object, I'm going to spawn with this object, and these are some settings for it. Now, the particular one that we need to know is this spawn as child. And this one is going to have specific behaviors that we also remember from PGM. So in this example, you can see that I have the player attack, okay? So if I'm going to go and open that object, so I'm just going to say player attack TCN. This is the object right here. And in order for this to behave as a child, which I have it ticked to be a child, in order for it to be a child, then you have to have a child settings node on that object that you're spawning. So again, you can just go to add, you can type in child settings or child, and there's your child settings node. So when you add this, you can then click on it and you can see all of the options that you get. And if you do remember from PGM, each object had a display and parent-child relationship. And then you have this section right here, which is the movement. If it sticks, if it doesn't follow the parent, all this stuff. If it has self HP changing, or if it affects the parent. If the attack can hit the parent or not. And then you have these four, does it take over the parent's direction, angle, scale, things like this. So this section right here is the same as these child settings right here. You can see right here we have the damage, it's our own. We have the follow type. Now if we say close, there's going to be no more options because that just means that you're going to stick with the parent always in that spot that you're assigned to. If you click on none, then it's not going to follow it at all. And then if you click on near, you start to get more options like what is the tracking accuracy, the distance, the time that it starts to follow, and things like this. All right. So do know that if in this bind object, if I did not have spawn as a child, then this player attack would not need the child settings. It is literally as if you're just generating an object, the same as if I was doing on a visual script and doing the generate object action right here. It would be the same. So let's look at some quick examples of doing this real quick. Let's go to bind object right here. Let's add a new one, and then let's add some bind data. See what one that we can just conjure up real quick. Let's do this. Let's just say it's a coin, and then let's add a, let's see here, object drop coin. Okay. We could do a drop coin right here. I need to go to the drops, go to this coin here. And in the visual script, I'm just going to take away the player touch aspect of it. And this way, it can just be simply what it needs to be. All right, for this purpose. All right, so now we have this. In the bind data, we added the coin. I don't want a switch to activate it. I want it to be always activated. And then I'm just going to do the center of this target. Let's make it go offset by 80 or whatever. Let's not check spawn as child. And then let's see what happens here. So we should just be walking. And the coin is going to, see how it just follows right there? All right. So it's bound permanently, and that is the object. Okay. So now we can do some things. Let's reset this. Let's see what this looks like, lower priority setting. So let's play test like this and see what it does naturally. So you can see that it shows above. And now if I check this lower priority, we should see that it goes below it. And there it goes. Yep. So it's going to show below. All right. So now we have some things where we can sync the directions. We don't have directions on this coin, so it doesn't really matter. But now let's spawn it as a child. All right. And what we're going to need to do now is go to drop coin, and we need to add a child settings node. And we're just going to do, let's see here, let's do none. So if we do none right here, we're going to see that if we walk away, it will not follow us. There we go. All right. So if you want it to just stay there, it will need to have a child setting, and it will need to follow type of none. All right. So then the other one that is pretty cool is this near time and tracking accuracy. I can't really remember good times for this, but let's do time was one thing I would usually do. Do tracking accuracy 100. And let's just try this and see how it goes from here. So what this is going to do is it's going to basically follow. You can see it's just doing it pretty well, actually. But if we go to, let's just say tracking time of, or tracking accuracy of 10, the tooltip says it specifies the precision of the tracking, higher yields. Okay, so now let's make it go just a little bit slower. And let's try this out. And if I move, you can see that it's just kind of tracking. Yeah, so you just get like a follower effect, and you can play with the numbers as you need. But it's really cool. I could see this being an easy follower system, maybe. Maybe not. Oh, I removed tile collisions, so don't freak out about that. But yeah, I could see it working as long as the tile collisions are okay. I could see it being a decent follower system. So there's one more I'll show. I'll go back to player here, and I'm just going to delete that coin one. And one thing that I've recently done is I made a debugger system where you can actually show debugs of your game, the switches, the data, and stuff like this. You can go to my switch variable debugger here. I actually have it in my main plugin hub right here, so you can just go and find it. So here it is, F1 switch debugger. It's actually more than a switch variable debugger now. But yeah, just scroll to the top, download this right here. It's going to download, and then you'll unzip it. You'll have it like this. If your project does not have the add-ons folder, just put all of it in there. So you'll go to your game right here, click on res. I do not have an add-ons folder, so I'm just going to drag in that add-ons folder. All right. It's a few things to set up in it, but they're not bad. So you go to your player or your main object that's basically going to be on every scene, and you go to the bind object of it. You add a bind data, and then you add this scene from the add-ons debugger, the Baz debugger here. We'll just call this the debugger. And then that's really all that we need to do. It doesn't matter if it's spawn child or not, although it's not a spawn child, so I'll just mark that off. And then the other thing you need to do is you need to go to input map. You need to create one called F1, just lowercase f1, click add. Scroll down here and then hit F1, or hit the plus, and then hit F1 and hit OK. So now you've set up the input that's required for it. Now, one thing that's recommended is I'm just going to Control S to save, and then I'm going to reload the current project. Sometimes when you're adding add-ons and scenes like this, especially plugins, like real plugins, you're going to want to reload the project as well. So that should be the only setup that's required. If I hit playtest right here, I can go around, I can hit F1, and now that debugger pops up. Notice it's in its own window. You can move it around as you want if you need, but it pops up just like this. You can search for objects right here. You can click on player, and then you can see some of its stuff. You can change things. So for example, you can see I can go invincible, and then it turns it off when I'm done. Now, let's just say that I want to compare something. I could say, hey, hold on to this player, but I'm also going to search for coins, and then I can compare stats from these two things. So this is kind of like a little flag to hold. If I click off of it, and if I was to start doing it again, it would drop off. So yeah, that's object data. We have project data, so we could say, I could say I have a sword, and then I could say that I have the current weapon is a sword. So now I could actually have a sword instead of having to find it. And then we have the database stuff too. So you can go to options. So these databases are not changeable. So I'm not going to be able to change these out, but they will show everything. And if it is changeable, you will be able to change it real time. This is where you can search a record. Remember that the record are the names. So that's what you'd be searching there. But yeah, so you get a lot of functionality from this. There is a little bit of changes too. If you want, you can go to the debugger right here. You can click on this. You can say, hey, default, it's showing above the window, but you could just show it to the side of the window. And what will happen is it will pop to the side right here. So you can have a bigger, wider screen. You can also adjust the minimum height. I found that I wanted it a little smaller, but if you put it to 0, for example, it will pop up a full window above it. So you'd get more, but you might lose some. So I gave you the ability to adjust it. But anyway, and you can just hit F1 and it will just toggle it on and off. So yeah, I wanted to show that because it does utilize bind object. You have to bind it, and I recommend binding it to an object that's going to be there. Yeah, that's really all you need to know about bind object and child settings. So if you have any questions, you can drop them below, or you can go to the official forums Discord. We'll get you figured out. That said, I'll see you at the next video.